From high atop the hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains, it's time for Downrange Radio and your host, Michael Bane.
Welcome, my friends, to an authentic love-in, a be-in. Do you realize that it's 50 years since the Summer of Love in San Francisco? 67, 68, so 50-year anniversary. Can you believe that? Actually, by the time the word of the Summer of Love got to Tennessee, where I lived, it was over. However, that did not stop me from getting my very own Paisley shirt. Oh, by the way, I'm Michael Bane. This is Downrange Radio, which is the love-in audio incarnation of Downrange Television, which is a be-in in and of itself. But I had a Paisley shirt. No, I really did. And it had really high collars, you know, so I could look like some nitwit in San Francisco. But that Paisley shirt got me a really totally cool gig, which was as a photographer. And apparently in Memphis, at Memphis State University, the guy who had written Hair, which of course by then was a legendary production, was working on a sequel, a second play, which was perversely called Dude. And basically it sucked. It sucked at a spectacular level. But with my Paisley shirt and a camera, an old Argus camera that I borrowed, I convinced this guy to hire me for like $25 to be the staff photographer to backstage document the creation of this show, Dude. And like I said, the show sucked. Everything was awful. It was people screaming. But from my standpoint, the great thing was I got to hang around with a lot of really, really hot women in really, really skimpy clothes. And I looked cool because I had a Paisley shirt and a camera. Well, I thought I looked cool. Anyway, as you know, this is our video segment. This is where we spend a little time with, what do they call it? Guns. You know, always good to spend some time with guns here. And today I have a really neat thing to show you. And first I'm going to tell you a little story. Obviously, if you're watching this, or if you're talking about it, what I have here on my bench is a Standard Manufacturing DP-12, and that is a double-barrel pump shotgun. We've talked about it a lot here. A lot of people look at it and go, man, that is such a ridiculous gimmick gun. It's a bullpup double-barrel shotgun. That is, there are two tubes, two barrels, just like, say, two Remington 870s, Mossberg 500s welded together. You work the pump, and you pull the trigger 2 times. Bang, bang. You work the pump again. Bang, bang. I believe there's 7 in each tube. This is my bedroom gun. And the 7 in one tube are buckshot, or Hornady buckshot. 7 in the other tube are Remington law enforcement slugs. It's sighted in at roughly about 15 yards, spec less. But we talked about this gun a lot, and I've talked a lot about Standard Manufacturing, because one of the things I absolutely unequivocally love about this business is there's still a place in the firearms industry for, I guess you would call them, the kind of an eclectic inventor manufacturer. And in most other fields, you know, that's kind of drifted away. But Standard is something really, really special. I met Standard. I met, I think, the chief guy, Lou Frutuoso. Lou, I begged you to change your name to Smith. But I was at a SHOT Show, and it was, end of the show. It's when I'm going around looking at interesting things, small tables down in the basement. And I ran into Lou, and the reason that he caught my eye was he had a perfect 3/4 scale 1922 Thompson. And I said, oh, in 22? And he goes, yeah. I said, it's beautiful. It looks like jewelry. And he goes, yeah, well, you know, we're Connecticut Shotgun. Standard Manufacturing is one of our kind of imprints, I guess you'd call it. But we're Connecticut Shotgun. We build the finest shotguns in the world. He goes, take a look at this double barrel pump. I'm like, what the heck is that? So in any case, Lou and I kept in touch, and one day he called me up and he goes, I got a deal for you on Shooting Gallery. I'd like for you to come to Connecticut Shotgun because we are the coolest shotgun manufacturer in the country and we can prove it. And he goes, here's the deal. If you come to Connecticut Shotgun and Film and you don't walk in and spend the first 15 minutes looking around and go, this is the coolest place I've ever been in my life, I'll reimburse all your expenses, everything it costs to bring the crew up there. So hey, can't miss. So we went up to Connecticut, and we're blown away. I think you saw that in Shooting Gallery. We were absolutely blown away. We talked about it here on the podcast at the time. 4 acres of machinery under roof, building some of the best shotguns in the world. the American shotguns, I think, I was going to say the only American shotguns, I'm not going to go quite that far, but it's pretty close to the only American shotguns that can run with the classic English or the classic Italian shotguns. You know, these are shotguns that run anywhere from $4,000 for your cheap, friendly shotgun up to $100,000, $200,000 for a lifetime heirloom. And they do everything there. Wind their own springs, make their own barrels, everything there. It's run by Tony Galazan, who to me is one of the great eclectic geniuses of the firearms business. He originally ran the Winchester Custom Shop doing custom work on Winchester Model 21s, the classic Model 21s. And then when they shut that shop down, basically he continued doing that. But he is a master of guns. And not only that, he loves guns. He and Lou love guns. And you don't have to love guns to work in the industry. But Tony and Lou really like them. So what he's always doing is like, hey, why not a double barrel pump gun? Because we have the expertise to build it. We are using, you know, obviously we're building $100,000 double barrel shotguns. We know how to run that trigger. But he said, why not build that? He said, why not build a 3/4 scale Thompson? The reason he did was he'd been at a gun show and seen a Marlin that was, it didn't really look much like a Thompson, but it was sort of like a Thompson built 22, I don't know, right after World War II. And he looked at it and he thought, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I have a gun company. I think I'll make one of those. So anyway, we were blown away. The gun room, we've talked about that gun room a lot. One of the things that Lou said and that Tony said afterwards, he goes, tell me if this is not the best gun room in the world. And I've been in some great gun rooms, Holland in London. Wesley Richards in Manchester, however they say it over there. Some of the Beretta gun rooms, absolutely spectacular. Gun rooms is essentially showcase rooms where they show off the guns they have for sale. And the Connecticut shotgun gun room is as good or better than any shotgun room in the world. It's breathtaking. They even have a pair of the Holland 700 Nitro Expresses. I believe there are only 5 of those ever made. Holland has 2 of them. One of them is owned privately. And Tony Galazan has the other 2 in his gun room. You can see them. So, this year at SHOT, Tony goes, I'm making some other stuff. Like, okay, what? He goes, you know we started manufacturing ARs because we had excess capacity. I said, yeah. And he goes, now I'm doing a lot of things. He says, I'm doing a volley gun. I'm like, all right, I'll bite. And he hands me this little gun. It's the S333 volley gun. It has 6 barrels and 2 firing pins that rotate around. So every time you pull the trigger, it fires twice. A volley gun. The first ones are coming out in 25 caliber. He has a huge plan to build lots of volley guns in lots of different calibers. Think of it as, I don't know, maybe it's Tony. It's like 2 870s together. Think of it as 3 Remington Derringers together with a firing pin that rotates among them. He also said, you know, I'm going to build 1911s because I think 1911s are magnificent guns. And he goes, I'm going to build them better than anybody else in the country, and I'm going to offer things nobody else in the country does. So, I got this package today from Lou and Tony. And this is what was in it. It is absolutely magnificent. It is a 1911, obviously, 45 ACP. It is completely color case hardened and #1 engraving. It may be one of the most beautiful 1911s I've ever seen. And then going through the specs on this gun, the specs are everything you would expect from this gun. A high-end custom 1911. Forged frame and slide, stainless steel match barrel, match bushing. Obviously, a really good high-vis tactical type sight. Beaver tail flip up, everything you would want. The hammer, match trigger set at 4.5 pounds. But look at it. I mean, this takes a 1911 to a whole different level. You know, one of the things that Lou and Tony said, they said, well, take it out and see how it shoots. I'm not altogether sure I feel comfortable shooting it. It is such a beautiful piece. The other thing I think that struck me on this is, again, attention to detail. Checkered mainspring housing, you know, checkered front strap, extended thumb safety, it's ejection port lowered, just like you would see on any high-end 1911. But it's the key to it is that it's beautifully done. It's beautifully made. It's beautifully finished. These are double checkered rosewood grips on it. A lot of the wood that Tony is using in these 1911s, he basically is using the scraps from his wood room on custom shotguns. I mean, these are shotguns that, you fly up there and they fit you, and you go through the wood room, which is a wonderful place, and you get to look at the different kinds of wood. And you choose these spectacular pieces of walnut, these pieces of walnut that probably worth $10,000, $15,000 in their own right. So some of the rosewood, walnut, all these other stock materials that he has in the wood room, they end up as grips on his 1911. So I think that's great. I am going to take it out and shoot it because I shoot them. If you recall the story, is I have a Richard Heine original. If you remember back in like 1986, 1987 on Miami Vice, the bad guy looked like a guy in a James Bond movie that ought to have a cat, a white Persian cat. He picks up a gun, he goes, "This is a Richard Heine original. It is the finest gun in the world." Well, I have a Richard Heine original because Dick and I have been friends a long time. And I called him up one day and said, I've been shooting the crap out of it. He said, "You've been shooting the crap out of it?" He goes, "Michael, people will pay you 3x what you paid for that gun. Heine collectors." He goes, "What do you mean you shot it?" I said, "Guns are to be shot." And I've even shot my Hamilton Bowen custom single actions. We're going to deal with those one day in show and tell. But I think the main thing I wanted to show you here is talk about little companies that can. And, Tony Galazan, this is, by the way, this is his catalog for Connecticut Shotgun. And you can think of it as a wish book. I think everybody should get this. We'll on Downrange Television, we'll give you those links so you can get a copy of this catalog, and you can flip through it and you can look at these world-class, absolutely amazing American guns. And you'll look at it and you'll say, "You know what? I so need that shotgun. I so want that shotgun." How about that? But I really appreciate the fact that there's still room for that in the firearms industry. And I do appreciate the fact that Tony Galazan is a wide-ranging free thinker. To go from building essentially European quality shotguns to a double barrel pump gun. What else has he got in the works? I should have one of these pretty quickly. He has a semi-automatic shotgun that is box fed. Right now he has 3, 5, and 10 round magazines. He's got a 25 round magazine almost ready to roll, or 15 round magazine almost ready to roll out, and a 25 round drum in the works. His first one is full-size shotgun, because that is for the three gunners, who have spent a lot of time overhauling Russian technology, box-fed Russian technology, and pieces fly off and land on the ground. I can guarantee you that with Tony's guns, the pieces are not going to fly off and land on the ground. He's also got in the works a couple of other things. He's got a bullpup version of that semi-auto shotgun that is a bear. It's going to be a bear. I believe it'll be one of the definitive self-defense shotguns as soon as it hits the market. The other thing that he's working on is, and he has prototypes of it, so it's not just pie in the sky, is he's building single-action armies. And as you may know, single-action armies are notoriously hard to build. If you look at STI, Dave Skinner's aborted attempt to create the Texican, which was a wonderful single-action army. And after he did one run of them, he said he'd rather hang himself than build another one. They were the hardest, toughest guns to fit. But Tony, the prototypes that I saw, again, magnificent 1911, single-action armies, color case-hardened frames, just really, really great-looking guns. That's coming. So again, congratulations, Standard Manufacturing. I love little companies that can. Obviously, he's not a sponsor, but he builds a heck of a gun. And one of these days, I'm gonna like save my pennies, save my nickels, save my dimes, sell a couple of these darned ARs, and buy myself a really nice shotgun. And I know exactly where I'm going to go. So stay with us. We've got 30 minutes more here on Downrange Radio and our Love In. I wish I had saved that Paisley shirt. Back in a minute.